And that's why, again, that the marriage is indissoluble, because he died on the cross. We better die on our cross as well. And sometimes that means staying with the person that you
brother,
married.
it's absolutely doable. I don't want anyone watching us to think, this is pie in the sky. It's not pie in the sky.
Yes.
It's been done by our forebears for 2,000 years.
This is
concept, this is normal.
It's normal.
This is just normal.
People have been doing it like this forever.
We're taught that it's not normal today, and we aren't taught to endure difficulty here because we don't see that the cross is central to our life. Once it becomes central, once a person becomes a Christian and they hear Jesus' words, if you want to come after me, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me, then there's a context to live as a sinner in marriage. You have a context of discipleship. You learn to be a disciple of Christ by saying no to yourself and bearing your cross, to be a servant to your spouse and your children. It makes sense. If you don't have that context, why should I suffer this, right? Why should I suffer this?
And you said so many things there, Father, that I want to touch on as well, but you're right, it's normal. Doing that is normal. What's not normal is having 4 different children with 3 different women. That's not normal. That's disordered. That is disordered. That is a disorder. Having all these kids with all of these different women running around, and then all of those, your exes, they have their new spouses, so now your children are being raised by other men that's not normal.
No,
that is not normal.
It's also a great injustice.
Yes, it is an injustice to the children, and we don't talk about enough is that children have rights as well. Children have rights as well. A child has the right to be conceived in, born into, and remain in a household with 2 parents that are married to each other. That's a right of the child. So when we bring kids into this world through fornication or through adultery or out of wedlock, you have already, off the bat, from the very beginning, you have violated the rights of your own child because you wouldn't marry the mother.
Yes.
You are violating the rights of so many people.
One of the ways that you can stay married is you can make an agreement when you get married. Make an agreement on how you are going to conduct your conflicts. So I take couples through a process of establishing what I call rules for fighting fair.
Very good.
Rules for fighting fair. I use the boxing image, right? In boxing, you got a fight going on.
You're talking my language, Father. You're talking my language.
There are some things you can't do.
Yes.
Right? You cannot hit below the belt.
Yeah.
And in the marriage context, to establish a pattern, like while you're calm, while you're engaged, and you love each other and you're at peace, think through potential conflicts. Write down what the temptations will be. To contact an old girlfriend or an old boyfriend, to go on Facebook, or worse, to say threats. One of the things I ask couples to put down, based upon my counsel, not theirs, to put down no matter what on their list as below the belt and unacceptable, is what I call using the D word as a threat. That is just below the belt. When couples have conflict and then one of them says, I'm going to divorce you. Whatever the conflict is no longer the conflict. Now the issue is that D word. That is a bomb that person just lobbed, undercutting any confidence that the couple has to work out their problems. Couples absolutely must resolve never, ever to use that word. It's below the belt. It's unacceptable. That has to be on their list. Never use the D word. And if you make the mistake of using the D word, drop whatever the conflict's about, because that's not what it's about. The bigger issue is you and your lack of commitment to God to honor His institution, which says there is no D word. We remove it.
That goes back to marriage being a public thing. It's not private, and your marriage isn't about you. Because something else that you just said, Father, too, just a few minutes ago, you said that a spouse is a servant to your spouse and to your children. We've established that marriage is a sacrament, but what kind of sacrament is it? It is a sacrament of service. The purpose of marriage is to serve. That's what it's for. So we're really getting to the bottom of how everyone has gotten it so backwards. Most people today get married in the secular world thinking, I'm going to be served right now by my spouse. And no, it's backwards. You are entering into this covenant so that you can serve your spouse and serve your children. It's not about you. I always tell people, your life isn't about you, your marriage isn't about you, nothing is really about you. It's about who has God commanded you to serve. And that's the trick. If you want true, it goes back to the original question about the fulfillment and freedom and joy. You will find your fulfillment, your freedom, your joy, your happiness, your everything that you want, not in what can be done for you.
Let's talk about that.
And how
Let's
you've
talk
served.
about happiness, this
Yes,
concept of personal happiness.
Yes.
You know, many people who are moving from a secular life and have judged it unworthy,
Right.
and are coming to Christ and are entering His church, they are wondering exactly how they should recalibrate their whole orientation towards happiness. Right? The secular world wants to get it as much as possible. That often has a very, which I say, passion-oriented, very physical manifestation. For us, the pursuit of personal happiness is not something that we talk about as a virtue. Right. That's a given.
Right, right.
Christ assumes that every human being loves himself. There's no commandment, love yourself.
Right, right.
Our schools here in California literally teach the children to
Self-love.
love themselves.
Self-love,
You have to
yeah.
learn how to, you can't love someone else if you don't learn how to love yourself. That is exactly upside down.
Yeah.
St. Paul in his counsel to husbands and wives, this is in Ephesians 5, right? The
Right.
most detailed teaching on
Yes.
how husbands and wives should live together.
Right.
St. Paul says that no man hates his own flesh. No
Right.
man.
Right.
Everyone, the goal is to learn to love your wife as you already love yourself.
Exactly.
When you get up in the morning and you have to, you have a pain, you have to go to the restroom, you go to the restroom. Right. When you're hungry, you get something to eat. We're always accommodating our body's needs,
Right.
often too much.
Right.
The goal in marriage is to treat your beloved.
As yourself, because
Yeah.
she is, because you're one flesh.
Yes.
You're one flesh.
Yes, and she's
Yeah.
given to you by God to be the person through whom you develop your Christ-like disposition. It's not just that married people are supposed to do it. Humans are supposed to be servants, not
Right.
just husbands and wives. The
Right.
reasons
Everyone.
husbands and wives are servants is because they serve the God who is a servant.
Exactly.
Christ himself came. Where can you see Jesus in any of the Gospels pursuing his own personal happiness? Can you give me one account?
No.
Where does it? Does that mean he wasn't happy? He was joy
He
in the flesh.
He tells us in John that his is to do the Father's will. That's where
Yes.
he gets his, is to do the Father's will.
Yes.
That's where you get your fulfillment, your joy, your personal happiness, is by doing his will, not your own will. That's exactly it, is to serve. I always tell people always tell me, I'm depressed. They say, I feel depressed. And I say, you know what you got to do? Stop thinking about yourself.
Oh.
The reason you're depressed is because you're thinking too much on yourself and you have collapsed in on yourself. That's really what, I believe it was St. Augustine that said sin is like you're collapsing in on yourself. You're thinking too much about yourself. What you need to do is go out and you need to serve others. And you'll be so surprised how quickly your depression goes away, your anxiety goes away, your self-loathing goes away when you go and you serve other people.
Yes.
It goes away. We're all
Yes.
called to be servants. And being a servant in marriage, in matrimony, in the sacrament of matrimony, is the highest, calling behind, being a minister of God, behind being an ordained minister of God. These are the highest ways in which we can serve. So yes, all of us are called to be servants, Father.
This is how a culture can be reinvigorated.
Yes.
A concept of service and of love for the other.
Yes.
This tangible, this is what inspires the whole concept of service to community that inspires the church's ethic. We have this, and I think it's very consistent Orthodox Catholic, and comes from our common history, which is the vast majority of Christian history.
Right.
Something that you might find, let's say, in the Compendium on the Social Doctrine of the Church, that's
Right.
published in English, I think around 2004, by the USCCB, which is a very fascinating and edifying document. And in our Orthodox phronema too, in our own mindset, it's very similar, that our engagement with society is designed to be a reflection of Christ's humble service, such that we view our contributions in every area to bring the life of Christ and let that be normative. We don't think it's just for spiritual people.
Right.
It's for every human
for
being.
everyone,
It's for
yeah.
every culture.
It's a vocation.
If you want your culture to thrive, connect it to the Spirit of God, manifest as your goal the life of Christ.
Right.
If your hero
Right.
is the Lord Jesus Christ, and a life of humble service, which he manifested, is your goal in life, you're going to have an outrageously prosperous and joyous society.
Exactly, because you are working out your salvation, as St. Paul tells us in Philippians 2, with fear and trembling, and you do that by serving others. And everything that we've said so far, Father, our Lord Jesus tells us, in the Gospel of Luke, and in such, short, plain words, he said, if you love your life, you're going to lose it. If you love your life more than you love me, you're going to lose it.
Yes. But as if you lose your life for my sake in the Gospels, you'll find that you get everything.
You get everything.
Yes, it's true.
I think the goal, because, for the last, like you've said, for the last 50 years, everyone has tried to gain their life, gain their own lives, live their own lives, be their own, person, and achieve all of their hopes and dreams, their selfish hopes and dreams. I think, obviously that hasn't worked. I think now we need to go out and let's lose our lives. Let's lose our lives, let's lose ourselves by making our lives about the people that we're being called to serve.
I agree. A blessed Lord's Day to all of you, brothers and sisters.
For November 17th, on which we commemorate Saint Gregory of Tours.
As we begin this new course in the St. John Chrysostom Catechetical School.
Now available on both Apple and Google Play stores.